Hi roses, my name is Tianna and welcome to today's reading on the week ahead for earth signs. That is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn signs. If you have any of those in your big three, sun, moon, or rising, please take this reading if it resonates. I am recording this for the week of February 8th. However, if you see this at another time, it may also resonate for you as well. So feel free to continue watching. And if you simply feel drawn to these cards but are not an earth sign or have those signs other places prominently in your chart, you can also watch this video as well. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can find my Twitter at Tianna Rose Tarot or book a personal reading with me using the link in the description box. And if you enjoy this reading, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's begin. So first we have the Potion card, which says invigoration and empowerment. And then we have Earthworm, clarity and rumination. Both of these cards talk about taking small actions towards big goals. So there could definitely be things in your life that you are trying to work on, things that you are trying to call in, but that can feel really overwhelming sometimes. Maybe you haven't even begun thinking about them specifically because it has just felt too much of a task for you at this point. Or you may have things that you've been really working hard on, but you're still feeling like you're not really seeing the progress yet, and that can feel kind of discouraging. And so both of these cards are representing a time when action is taking place under the surface here. There are things that are happening that you may not even be aware of. There are changes that are being made in your life, and any small actions that you are taking are moving you towards those goals, whether you're aware of them or not. However, the Potion card specifically talks about intention. Where can you bring intention into your life? In very small ways. So this means that finding the things that make you feel good and continuing to do them as a method of moving towards those goals. Maybe you feel like you're not really being productive on any given day, but you did something to rest or take care of yourself or something that you enjoy. That is still a step in a positive direction. That is still a form of productivity. There are going to be times when you may feel up to more, and there are going to be times when you're not really feeling up to doing what we typically see as productivity in society. But that doesn't mean that you are falling behind. That doesn't mean that you're not making progress. These cards together invite you this week to remember that you are still moving forward and to think about the ways in which you can bring a little bit more intention into your everyday life. Again, doesn't have to be anything big, but simply finding the things that make you happy and make you feel good, that feel in alignment with who you are and where you're trying to go. And eventually you will bring those goals into fruition. Let's see what else is coming up this week for the earth signs. First, we have the card Palm Tree. This is a card of stability, growth, endurance, flexibility. You're invited to think about ways that you can feel grounded right now. And once you feel more grounded, then you can actually move towards that growth as well. If you try to start with just the growth and you're always trying to add something new or expand, but you haven't really thought about why you're doing it or have the foundations in place to make sure that you actually want to do those things and that they fit within your life, then they're not going to be as sustainable. You might be continuously trying new things, but not having anything really stick. And this could be part of the reason, is that what you might be craving deep down is a situation where you are grounded, at least in yourself. That doesn't mean you have to be stuck or that you're no longer going to be able to grow or change. Of course, those are things that have to happen, and that is naturally what happens with trees. And so we can use trees as an example of how they can be rooted so deeply underground, which is again a underground concept coming up with the earthworm card. And those roots can spread for miles, but they still grow out of the ground. And they take time to grow. But that doesn't mean that they're not growing, and you can see that growth over time. As you bring in more stability for yourself, and as you find routines that really feel meaningful and impactful for you, even if they're really small, that's how you begin to build up towards bigger things. Yes, then we have the card Abundance. So abundance is something that is fully within your capabilities, within your nature. It is not something that you necessarily have to reach for or something that you have to do all this work in order to get to a certain place. This is something that you already have. And especially with the Potion card, it's something that if you look around in your life, you might find that there's actually a lot of things that are going really well, even if they're small. And kind of reframing the way that you think about abundance or the way that you think about happiness and fulfillment. That again doesn't mean that certainly all the time is going to feel amazing, but it does mean that you're consistently moving in a positive direction for yourself, and remembering that even if things might not always be obvious above the surface, that they are still happening deep under the surface. Those things are still moving forward for you. We have the Sword and Rose. This card is about clarity, which is something that came up in the Earthworm card. You are reaching this level of deep understanding for yourself. That doesn't mean that it's going to be an immediate epiphany and every single thing is going to make sense for you, but it does mean that you're making conscious choices for yourself and you're stepping into a new period of understanding who you really are and having a framework for who you are, which will help to then know what other activities you want to pursue, the people you want to have in your life, making sure that you're protecting your power, standing up for yourself and setting boundaries when you need to. And lastly, we have the Dragonfly card. So this week is about trying to approach things in a more open way, to be open to things looking a bit different than you originally expected, to try to approach things from a more lighthearted point of view, even if not everything is going the way that you want yet, but to remember that that is part of the process. And also there might be things that you find out at this time, or things that come to the surface that you might not be super happy about in the moment. But these are important so that you can work towards healing, or that you can work towards finding things that are more in alignment for you. This could show up in a lot of different ways, but that's a natural part of this process. Healing isn't always linear, growth isn't always linear. Even if it doesn't seem like you're consistently moving towards your goals, you are moving towards them because you're learning more and more what works for you and what doesn't. You are realizing the things that really light you up, the things that make you feel fulfilled, the things that you can come back to when things aren't going super well, because that is an important part of the growth, is realizing that not everything in life is going to go exactly how you wanted, but when you practice working through those things and having the things in place that you can fall back on, the routines that really feel good to you, that's how you enter this space of abundance. And through that groundedness, through that stability, that's also where the true growth can come. So for you at this point, a lot of things might have felt like they were still under the surface, but they are coming up this week, and they're going to just continue to do so more and more. So don't give up on yourself yet. Keep an open mind and allow yourself space to just try new things and see what works for you and see what doesn't. And focus on the little actions towards those goals, the little things that make you feel good, and the rest will follow. Thank you, Earth signs.